Newcastle United need to be careful because this season is crumbling before their eyes, and I don't want to be that negative guy, but I'm struggling to find any positives. Just been knocked out the FA Cup by Brighton. We've got huge Premier League games coming up as well as a League Cup game, and we've got injuries, suspensions, players are out of form collectively and individually. I can't see any positives, but I want to start by that Anthony Gordon situation because I've seen a lot of Newcastle fans trying to defend it on social media, and it just blows my mind because it was a clear as day red card. You can't argue against it. You can't raise your hands to an opponent aggressively as he did. Even if there was a shirt pull, you still can't raise your hands. What he should have done is just stopped and went, "However, ref, look, he's pulling on my shirt." You can't raise your hands the way he did. It was a clear as day sending off. I'm going to ask you one question. If that was a Brighton player on Anthony Gordon, what would you be doing? Your arms would be up in the air and you'd be going, "That way, referee, it's a red card." Of course you would. So take your Newcastle tinted glasses off. It's a clear as day red card. Stupidity from Anthony Gordon. What's even more foolish is the referee had blown for an offside. So that passage of play, that sequence of play, shouldn't even have happened. Gordon was just throwing his toys out the pram because he wasn't getting his own way on the pitch, and he was becoming more and more frustrated as the game went on. You could see it. He was boiling up inside, and he's seen red mist. And this can be season defining because he misses 3 very important games. West Ham away, which is a tough game. They beat at St James's Park earlier on in the season. The cup final against Liverpool, which were underdogs in. And then we've got Brentford after that, who are having a really good season. So Anthony Gordon, in reality, he's let his teammates down, he's let his fans down, he's let himself down. And when you commit a crime, you need to do the punishment. So that red card is absolutely not getting overturned. So there's no even point in even questioning it. So what we've got to do, Eddie Howe's got to find a solution. And I kind of feel like there's 4 options for Eddie Howe. So Newcastle have been in poor form for a while now, individually and collectively, but there is 4 options he can call upon for this League Cup final. Starts Harvey Barnes on the left in replace of Anthony Gordon. For me personally, I'm not so sure about that because Harvey Barnes has shown no signs to justify his start in the League Cup final. Games are just passing him by. He had okay moments against Brighton, but again, the game just passed him by. Joe Willock starts on the left with him and Joe Linton interchanging. Personally, I think that's probably your best option. Or Joe Linton starts on the left to give us more coverage and look after Mo Salah a little bit and help Lewis Hall if he plays. And Lewis Miley comes in midfield to give her a little bit of control, a little bit of balance. But again, Lewis Miley had a shocker against Brighton. Or does Eddie Howe go to a back 5 like we're seeing against Arsenal? But if he does that, 1, Sven Botman's got to be fit. And 2, you've got to drop either one of Bruno, Joe Linton or Tonali. Which one do you drop? So Eddie Howe has a big decision to make leading into this cup final. Harvey Barnes has a big opportunity against West Ham. I think he's going to start against West Ham. He needs to show us that he has the ability and the willingness to work hard in this League Cup final. But it's certainly worrying times because you've got Isak coming off with a knock. Don't know how serious that is. We've had Lewis Hall coming off with a knock. Don't know how serious that is. Kieran Trippier is getting old. He looks sluggish. He looks like he can't play 2 games in a week anymore. And he came off with a back injury. So if them 3 players are on 100% fit, again, it's just going to diminish our chances of beating Liverpool. So Eddie Howe has a really serious decision to make. But I kind of feel like this point for Newcastle United was coming. Paper-thin squad, lack of quality. We've got aging players that are getting older, getting more sluggish, that are regressing pretty much. And I kind of feel like the failing to identify or sign any players in the past 3 windows has brought us to this point. It's prolonged our transition an extra 3 years, in my opinion. It's important just to keep refreshing the squad, getting rid of players that are aging, that are not good enough. And Eddie Howe in our recruitment team have failed to do this. We've got the 25th oldest squad in Europe's top 5 leagues with an average age of 27.7. That is certainly not good enough if you want ambitions to reach the next level. Over the past 3 years, we've lacked ambition. We've failed to replace players who aren't good enough. We've failed to let go of aging players. Nick Pope's now 32, Martin Dubravka's 36, Fabian Shaw 33, Dan Burn 32, Kieran Trippier 34, Kraft 30, Jacob Murphy 30, Jamal Lascelles 31, Bruno's 27, Joe Linton's 28. So our squad isn't getting any younger. Yesterday against Brighton, our 2 centre-backs had a combined age of 65. 5. That is insane. No wonder we look sluggish and off the pace. And you can even throw Kieran Trippier into that, because 3 out of our back 4 yesterday had a combined age of 99 years old. That is fucking insane. Now, I know Dan Burn, Fabian Shaw and Kieran Trippier have been good servants, but you need to start thinking forward, planning ahead, getting rid of players that you know are just going to regress within time, sell them when they've still got value to sell. And it just feels to me like we've lacked planning and preparation in the transfer market. But then if we dive a little bit deeper, there is players that can be sold. Sean Longstaff's 27. I think Joe Willock, Matt Targett, Harvey Barnes, Callum Wilson, Fabian Shaw, Kraft, Jacob Murphy, Kieran Trippier just aren't good enough for where we want to be anymore. Profiles and partnerships make a successful team. I say this all the time. You need to build a spine and then add additions next to it, but you need to bring in the right profiles to fit your system and the right profiles that will complement their teammates. So, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a nice balance in our midfield when they're on form. Bruno complements Joe Linton complements Tonali and the working cycle, and that's very good. An example is Callum Wilson. He offers nothing what Alexander Isak offers. So when Callum Wilson plays, we need to adapt our system to facilitate him, because he's not that player that's going to run in behind, come and drop deep, link up play. He wants to be that box striker where we need to supply from. Eddie Howe doesn't play that way. So why we still got the likes of Callum Wilson as a backup striker as Alexander Isak? Because he doesn't fit. His profile doesn't fit the system we play. And if I can identify that, surely someone at Newcastle United can. And I haven't even spoke about his injuries over the years. That alone should make you think we need to get rid of this guy because we can't rely on him. So why are we keeping these players is what I'm asking. We need to be ruthless in our ambitions. So why are we keeping these players is what I'm asking. We need to be ruthless in our ambitions. And on top of that, if you really have UEFA Champions League ambitions, you can't be relying on players like Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock, Matt Targett, Harvey Barnes, Callum Wilson, because they're just simply not good enough. Decent Premier League players, but not good enough if you want to reach the next level. You look at our competitors, Aston Villa, who are showing ambitions of trying to get in the Champions League. They brought in 2 loan deals this January, Marco Asensio and Marcus Rashford. This has given them the best chance to finish as high as possible in the league. Even if they miss out in the Champions League football, at least they can sit there contently and say, we'll give it our best chance. I'm not so sure Newcastle United have. And PSG are an example that you can reduce the age of your squad in a couple of years, as well as keep out the quality coming. PSG are the prime example that it can be done over 2 to 3 years. In 2021-22 season, they had the 10th oldest squad in Europe's top 5 leagues. In 2024-25 season, they had the 3rd youngest squad in Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, I'm not saying we need to go out and spend 300 million every single summer, because that's completely unrealistic and there is PSR rules in place. What I am saying, we need to start offloading these players, using that money to recruit sensible, smart signings, also dipping into the loan market with an option to buy, with an obligation to buy, just so we can prolong our spending over a couple of years. So there is ways of fixing the squad, but also building the squad without spending loads and loads of money every summer. Now, our defence is a main concern. It's aging, lack of pace. Opponents are just running in behind, running off us far too easily. There's a lack of quality and concentration now, and they're completely regressing. The reaction time's becoming slower and they lack stamina. Obviously, we're trying to rectify this because we're trying to sign Mark Gahey in the summer, but Eddie Howe's loyalty to some of these players will be the failure of his own downfall, unfortunately. So despite having Tino, despite having Lewis Hall and Sven Botman, who's only 25, we need a more energetic centre-backs, in my opinion. We also need more squad depth in midfield and forward positions. Our quality drops far too much when we rotate. Look at Aston Villa now, right? And I know I'm using them as an example again, but if they bring out Morgan Rogers, they've got Marcus Rashford to come on. If they bring out Yuri Tillemans or Jacob Ramsey, they've got Marco Asensio to come on. When we bring out Anthony Gordon, we're relying on Harvey Barnes, who just is a decent player. I'm not saying they're bad players, but if we really want to get to those Champions League levels, we can't rely on these players, unfortunately. Another example, when we bring out Alexander Isak, we're relying on Callum Wilson, who has scored goals in the past, but he's aged now, and injuries, unfortunately, has impacted his ability. So, unfortunately, going into the cup final, I had probably 20% chance of Newcastle winning. Now I've only got 10, because when you go into a cup final as underdogs, there's a couple of things that need to go your way. You need to earn the luck. You need your players 100% fit, your key players, and you also need to be in form, but you also need Liverpool to have an off day. I can't see any of those 4 happening. despite all them needing to happen. So what was an exciting time for Newcastle United looks like a bleak time for Newcastle United. But I want to know your thoughts. That's just my thoughts, because I think this sort of impact on the squad has been coming. In our vision and failure to rectify this and identify this is put in the situation we are now. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you made of this video. And I'm thinking about doing a video on identifying targets that we could bring in. Got a couple of players that spring to mind, like Mario Storykens from Anderlecht, who I think will be a brilliant Bruno or Joe Linton understudy. You got Ryan Flamingo, who can come in at centre-back. Ousmane Diomande. There's plenty of options out there. So I might do a video looking at some alternatives that we could bring in this summer. And if you want to see that, let us know in the comments below. But also, don't forget to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button on your way out. And until next time, away the lads.